Cool. Now we can go in and start drawing some details. We can start with the eyes. We know that the upper eyelid is going to have the form of like a strip of clay rounded on a sphere. It's going to be a nice little shadow right there. A line like that. I noticed that there's a line here and then it gradually goes into light, so you might as well make a new layer, fill in that whole area, grab that airbrush eraser, just do that. Okay. And the whites of the eyes aren't too bright here because of the lighting, so let's go ahead and put a bit of a gray there and just a quick shape for the eye like that. And the waterline of the eye is going to be, so if we do a close-up of that eye and the lower eyelid, it's like this going to the tear duct over here. There's a top side and that's going to be shaded, and then it goes down to the lower side, and there's going to be a bevel highlight here, so you can get that by isolating, by shading this in, and then like another line down here. You kind of just imagine that's what it would look like. Very important to kind of be aware of these forms by studying them slowly and carefully. If you can't do it slowly, you can't do it quickly. All right, so over here, it's going to indicate rather quickly. It doesn't have to be super accurate like what we just did. If there's any takeaway from this exercise, it's to become familiar with all the unpredictable forms that are given to you by looking at reference. Things you just can't make up. Because I've drawn many, many heads, but every time I study something like this, it's something new every time, which is a wonderful thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get the shading of this in real quick. I'm going to do that, new layer. Going to just lightly press that in this whole area. Grab that eraser and the airbrush. It's going to be a small little, tiny little cylindrical thing here, and it's going to get bigger as we go out. So we make sure that this core shadow is tight here, and then it gets wide as we leave. So let's go ahead and redo that. I'm going to actually start with the big shape first, and then we'll carve down. Kind of merge all this down, not all of it, just the detail layer, and there we go. And you kind of work your way through the painting. Just be a little investigator, highlight hunter, look for the shapes. A little bump in the nose. So we're going to do the same thing for the nose. We're going to just shade it all in on a new layer like that. And then just squint and ask yourself, where are the highlights? Definitely right here. It's got a spherical part of the tip of the nose. It gets thinner over here. It's more cylindrical. And then it gets bright up here because of the rim light. And then it fades in like that. And that part is not in shadow. Cool. We'll work our way to the other eye. Technically, we should have started with this eye back here because you want to work from the background to the foreground if you were doing this with oil paint, but luckily with digital, we don't have to worry about that. And notice how the eyelid just pushes out towards the silhouette. In this case, it's pushing past the what I would expect for the cheekbone, and I never would have guessed. that it would be like that. Because if you're drawing from the same references all the time, you start to make assumptions, but human beings have such variety. It's our job as storytellers to kind of explore that. Okay. Now, this line is really far out, too far, but it was just a sort of placeholder. But what you'll notice here, the line of the cheekbone starts at the eye and actually goes behind the nose here. Okay, so we want that roundedness of the forehead. So I'm just going to fill this in like that. Do the same thing. And make it lightly erased here. Okay. Go ahead and erase that construction line from behind, so we don't need it there anymore. Now we're just carefully working our way through and discovering new shapes and forms that we can really become familiar with. I'm going to go ahead and get this nice ambient shadow here. It's ambient occlusion. So the hat is causing a contact shadow plus an ambient occlusion. So if I just fill this in with black like this on a new layer, and grab an airbrush eraser and just go upward like this. Now we could leave it at that. It has a nice realistic effect, but let's kind of go a little bit more accurate to the reference. Wonderful. All right, let's figure out the mouth area. I won't be walking through absolutely everything, but I'll point out things if I need to. Nice little shadow over here. So this whole area, you'll notice that there's a rim light there. Could be kind of considered as a highlight. So all this area, by the nature of that highlight, is not as bright. So what we could do is just fill in this whole area, just to simplify things, and erase out only where that highlight is. And it just does all the work for us. Maybe a little bit of brightness here. And it fades out a little bit. So over here, gradation to darkness, but let's make it a new layer. There we go.